Hey everyone, welcome to another Rapid Fire Review, this time for Lee Z's Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. Wu Chang is yet another hardcore action RPG, or souls-like video game, this time set in an alternate history representation of Shu, during the late Ming Dynasty. We play as Wu Chang, a scantily clad and jiggly pirate who is afflicted by the mysterious feathering disease, and we have to kill the baddies and figure out what's going on. Wu Chang was pretty high on my most anticipated list for the year. I love Souls-likes, or hardcore action RPGs, or whatever you want to call them, and I love that other studios outside of FromSoft and Team Ninja are moving the genre forward, and I was excited to see what this game did to leave its mark. Unfortunately, the biggest mark that Wu Chang left was a harsh reminder. A reminder that modern gaming means we get games that are rushed out before they're ready, before they're properly tested, and before systems can be polished, and that customers get left with hollow corporate apologies and promises for patches to fix stuff later. For me, the situation is even more disappointing, because Wu Chang has the bones of a great game, outside of the poor performance, bugs, and some weird balancing issues that they could have easily fixed. As always, we review games as we play them. I do know that rush patches are being made to smooth over performance after the game received overwhelmingly negative ratings, and even balance changes are being done to undo some of the miserable game design decisions. But I beat the game before all that was done, so that's how I have to review it. Like I mentioned before, I just don't feel that Wu Chang was ready to be released. Performance was poor. Now, it was playable, sure, but in a game that highlights fluid, dynamic combat, parries, fast weapon swaps, and perfect dodges, having the game stutter constantly or drop frames felt awful. And changing graphical settings really didn't help much, and it ran very poorly on both my home and my work PC. Kind of like having a rock in your shoe you just can't get rid of, the game running like shit also acted as an amplifier for the other issues I felt the game had. A lot of minor issues felt bigger than they were, even ones that are unfortunately common in the genre started to really piss me off. I would say that during the first half of my playthrough, I was constantly rolling my eyes at one thing or another in the game. Some bosses had hitboxes that were just a joke. Poison stuff or blight stuff on the ground didn't at all line up with the graphics on the screen. And then there's this wonderful snow area that added a stupid fucking frostbite stagger to go with the already frustrating graphical stagger that I was experiencing. And the snow is the perfect place to be getting staggered in random direction, since landmines filled the snow. Like a lot of landmines in the snow. And you pair that with non-stop suicide bomber enemies diving right at you and exploding you, it made for a real fun experience. I felt like the first half of the game used mostly gimmicks rather than good combat design to raise the kill count. There are ambushes around most corners. Are you climbing up a huge tower to go light a beacon? Once you get to the top of the ladder, some idiot kicks you off, killing you instantly. Now you need to do a really long run back. Are you rounding a corner near a ledge? Instantly knocked off again. You should have known to kill the dude through the stone wall before rounding it. You fool. There's even a dude that sits in a small canvas tent with a cannon, an artillery cannon, waiting for you to walk past the opening, like we're in a fucking cartoon. And then you get shot and exploded and probably get blown up into a landmine or two. Look, ambushes and traps in these games can add a ton of tension and danger when used just enough to keep you on your toes, and every now and then they get you. But the traps and ambushes in Wu Chang became the main source of my deaths for a large period of time. My deaths should have been coming from a boss changing forms and using cool different moves I had to learn, or a mistake that I made. Instead, it was just some idiot hiding around a corner who just pushes you to your death, or attacking a bad guy who happened to be sitting on top of a landmine. Some people may find that kind of stuff interesting, but that's not why I play these games. I'm more interested in the combat. And when you get to experience combat without either graphical or explosion interruption, I think it's great. There are 5 different weapon types, each with a unique playstyle. The longsword gives you a sword counter, parry playstyle, and once you find the sword whip, you can play an incredibly disrespectful, I'm gonna slap your ass in the face with my sword style that I just loved. The axes are the big bruising weapons. They provide big hits, and oddly enough can provide massive mobility in these big leap smashes. The bonk playstyle is hard to beat, and when you just have to unga somebody's bunga, this is it. Dual swords set you up for pure aggression. Many of the attacks and the combos have clash, so you ignore most if not all of the enemy damage coming at the same time. So if you aren't up for the your turn, my turn stuff that we get in Souls-like games, or you just really want to show off and know all of the frame data for your moves and time them against the boss combos, this is probably for you. The spear has incredible reach and really great might generation, which is the mana of the game. It's got a cool playstyle, and it was my secondary weapon for almost the entire game. One-handed swords are sad. I mean, they're not great, but the one-handed swords and its skill tree is less about the sword's physical damage and more about the specialization in the two schools of magic that are available in the game. Dedicated casting builds or spellblade styles will almost certainly have one-handed swords thrown in there for magic generation and damage. The swift draw mechanic lets you immediately swap to your secondary weapon, even a weapon in the same class, and quickly do its moves. If you're playing and you're not getting enough damage or stagger in your attack windows, this is the system you need to be exploring. For variety, there are a few weapons in each class to tinker with, though I felt that the game would have benefited immensely from some more. Most, sadly, will just kind of be slight variations on the theme, but there are some unique standouts that are really great to tinker with. And tinkering with the weapons can be done at will. The skill tree system allows you to respec at any save shrine, and since the weapons are leveled up in the skill tree rather than with consumable upgrade materials, you don't have to worry about hoarding them just in case a good weapon drops later in the game. If you find a new toy that sounds like fun, you actually get to use it right away, rather than have to wait till New Game Plus to level it up. The two magic damage schools allow for further build customization. Even in an all bonk build, you can utilize the might points to buff your next attack for a really big bonk, or give yourself damage reduction so you can bonk for longer. The skill tree here has everything. It has enough points to explore the main weapon tree, get deep enough into the utility tree to get stuff to customize weapon damages or lifesteal, and later you can even get into other trees for secondary weapon types or just for stat nodes. It's a really great system. As for the enemies you'll be fighting, most of them are just fodder, but there is sufficient variety to keep things interesting. There are quite a few elite encounters between save shrines, and if you are going to die to something that's not a gotcha, these will probably do it to you. Now for the bosses, there's a pretty large range in quality and difficulty. I was a bit disappointed by many of them, especially towards the end. This is another spot where simply testing more of the game could have greatly impacted my enjoyment. We have these big, grandiose boss encounters that have no risk or difficulty to match, and it felt like a waste of time. And then there's simple-looking boss fights early in the game that are apparently so difficult that's making some people quit. Like with all games in the genre, you'll scratch your head wondering how the hell something hit you, or why your attacks are missing a 900-pound man you are practically standing inside of. You will get frustrated with the input reading, and bosses instantly dodging your attacks that you used all of your important resources to fire off. Many of the bosses are also relentless. You're not going to get a lot of time to breathe, let alone use a flask, which feels like it takes forever to use. But Deflect and Clash can really help you sneak some damage in. Plus there's all sorts of mobility disciplines to use to get around the onslaught. Just don't get knocked down. Knockdowns are incredibly punishing in Wu Chang, and you will get your ass beat the entire time you are getting up to. For a woman that is not weighed down by armor, or really much clothing, and who can also kind of magically leap and fly all over the damn place, she sure gets up really fucking slow. But once you find a weapon playstyle you like and get into the flow of combat, I think that most people will enjoy it, even despite some of the design choices or spikes in difficulty. Now the level design in Wu Chang is less linear than other recent games. It's by no means open world though, but there's a lot more side paths that lead to optional areas, sometimes even optional bosses. A lot of the time though, I found myself disappointed with the exploration in these areas. You'll find enemies to kill, sure, but the exploration often led to wildly underwhelming consumables that I wasn't really using anyway. Sometimes you do get like a doodad to slot into your weapon, but most are bad, or rarely you'll get a new weapon. But I'd say most of the time it felt like they were just wasting my time. Like I had taken the wrong path in a maze and I got a consolation cookie and I needed to backtrack to the main area. Having a few more weapons or armor sets hidden on the map and maybe a few more spells in the game could have gone a long way in making exploration feel better. The distance between shrines feels a touch longer than the current industry design philosophy, but it's not extreme. There are also plenty of shortcuts to unlock if you look, and sometimes you really have to look, but they're there. Some of the shrine placements do feel kinda weird, especially the ones before bosses, which seem to be purposely put on the other side of ladders or elevators. It's nothing like the long runbacks from the battle days, but it almost feels like it was done purposely to be annoying, and I'm not for that sort of design. While you are wandering around the map, there are tons of little Bloodborne-style quests sprinkled throughout the game, so pay attention to the doors you run past. Some things are very easy to miss, like the good ending. You really need to be paying attention. Summing up my overall experience with Wu Chang is pretty tough. Ultimately, I felt like I had kind of a bad time playing a pretty good game. On one hand, the game has style. I really like the combat, and I love the customization options. On the other, the game ran like shit. It was poorly polished, and during a lot of my playthrough, I was annoyed by it. Wu Chang had a lot of potential, but I don't feel like the state the game launched in lived up to it, which for me is even more frustrating than if it were just another bad game. It was close, really close to being something special in the genre. Spend a little more time balancing the game in order to rely on the game's strength, the combat system, to add difficulty, instead of ambush gimmicks. Fix the unevenness in the boss encounters, and most importantly, fix the performance issues, and I'd be talking about this game like I do the other great newcomers. But they didn't, and so I won't. So in the end, I'm going to give Wu Chang a 6 out of 10, which for us is the above average game score. If you give these developers a bit to fix some things, I am sure your score will be higher than mine. But as I played it, I just can't give it any higher. Thank you so much for watching this rapid fire review. Let me know what you think in the comments below.